systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus.
There is a swelling storm, and I'm caught up in the middle of it all, and it takes control of the person that I thought I was, the girl I used to know. But there is a light in the dark, and I feel its warmth in my hands, in my heart. Why can't I hold on? 'Cause it comes and goes in waves. It always does. It always does. We watched as our young hearts fade into the flood. Into the flood. The freedom, the falling, the feeling I thought was set in stone. It slips through my fingers. I'm trying hard to let go, but it comes and goes in waves. Oh, it comes and goes in waves. It carries us away through the wind and down to the place we used to lie when we were kids. The memories of a stolen place, caught in the silence, an echo lost in space. And it comes and goes in waves. It always does. It always does. We watched as our young hearts fade into the flood. Into the flood. The freedom, the falling, It slips through my fingers, and I'm trying hard to let go. But it comes and goes in waves. Oh, it comes and goes in waves. It carries us away. I've watched my wild youth disappear in front of my eyes. Moments and magic and wonder. It seems so hard to find. Is it ever coming back again? Is it ever coming back again? Take me back to the feeling when everything was left to find. 'Cause it comes and goes in waves. It always does. It always does. The freedom, the falling, the feeling I thought was set in stone. It slips through my fingers. I'm trying hard to let go. But it comes and goes in waves. Oh, it comes and goes in waves. It carries us away.
There's a concept in computing about a growth that's unrestrained. The exponential rate of computer processing means all of them computers have brains. Super intelligent nanomachine, self-aware by 2045. Either civilization and its total peace, or none of us will be alive. Well, I hope the robots are nice, a benevolent technology. If I have to report to a robot boss, well, I want a few things for me. I want to have a robot beer that auto pours in my mouth. I want to have a robot football coach to figure my fantasy drafts out. I want to have a robot lawn to ride my robot mower on. The dawn of the singularity is the age for which I long. If we can have every little thing, robots at a beck and call, then I want one robot to keep track of the remote. And another one to scratch my balls. I want to have a robot beer that auto pours in my mouth. I want to have a robot football coach to figure my fantasy drafts out. I want to have a robot wife to automatically take my last name. I long for the singularity as long as everything stays pretty much the same. Elon Musk, the fella from Tesla, thinks the singularity's a bad scene. But Kurzweil and Stephen Hawking both agree it is the dawn of the spiritual machine. Now, I don't give a shit about that. If life is real or a digital facade, hell, the robots can have all the heaven and earth as long as they worship my God. 'Cause I just want to have a robot NASCAR running on robot gas. And if that race gets a little too tedious, I can program a robot crash. I want to have a robot rifle so I can shoot at a robot game. I long for the singularity as long as everything stays pretty much the same. Beer. I long for the singularity as long as everything stays pretty much the same. Where's my auto beer?
Yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo, yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo. What up, though? How we doing? Everybody at home and watching on the bot and watching in the lurker status and watching in the future when archaeologists find Twitch and see my face. How the hell are you? Do 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 do. So yeah, got some news. And I'm throwing up some merch onto Stream Elements. You know, just on the off chance that you would like these things. I ordered my first thing from a streamer off Stream Elements, and it seemed pretty painless and like that. And then there are, you can do what you call it, the thing, discounts for subscribers, you know, and I think it's cool. So you want to support the stream and you want some cool merch, what up, Conrad McDuck? Welcome. Yeah, if you want to support the stream and you want merch with my, right now I'm doing my logo and the Banhammer League logo. And like that. And of course, if there's something else you want, I am a conduit unto my people. So I can make it happen for you. So there's an interesting bookend story here. We'll get right into some news real quick. So I don't know if you heard about this, but this Do Not Pay was setting up an AI to act as a robot lawyer. Okay. And the person that they got to do it, it was like traffic court. So I mean, worst case scenario, they're out some money, and you know, it's definitely something that they could have been willing to cover if things went south. They were just trying to prove the efficacy of the technology, so on and so forth. And whoop. I am hiding. No, I'm no longer hiding. Okay, so they were going to have an AI powered robot lawyer, basically. And once it got out that they were doing this, multiple state bar prosecutors advised them, if you do that, you're going to go to jail, pay a fine, something of that nature, right? It had developed a AI legal advice tool using OpenAI's ChatGPT technology was planning on surreptitiously testing the tool in real life, live court case earlier this month, and then there was a backlash. And it just so happens, like, they didn't announce who or what or anything, but it turns out that one of the state bar attorneys who contacted him and made the threats. Yeah, like, I mean, there's room for this, because a good chunk, a significant chunk of the lawyering process, right, has nothing to do with what you see on TV, with people doing, like, the impassioned speech to the jury or whatever, right? Most of it is looking up case law, looking up precedent, getting all that stuff together. So an AI is already in use on the back end for that, right? This would just put it on the front end, but like Bernie Madoff found out, is like, when you come after the money, or in this case, when you come after the lawyers will come after you. So that ended up not happening. But ChatGPT bot passes law school exam. Go away. A chatbot powered by reams of data from the internet has passed exams at a U.S. law school after writing essays on topics ranging from constitutional law to taxation and torts. Never considered it that way. AI for the monotonous parts of the job, freeing up lawyers to spend time on real work. That is the entire nature of what automation should be doing, right? Like, automation should rid us of tedium so that we can do stuff that requires people stuff, It just turns out that should be doing is yes, because we've talked previously on this program how capitalism distorts the lens of research, distorts the lens of innovation, distorts the lens of the assignment of resources. So yeah, that's gonna happen. Yeah, so 95 multiple choice questions, 12 essay questions, and it got a C plus. But the fact that it got a C plus indicates that it is way better, than it ought to be, and it's only like a couple iterations away from being able to, get to those A's and whatnot. In writing essays, ChatGPT displayed a strong grasp of basic legal rules and had consistently solid organization and composition. The bot often struggled to spot issues when given an open-ended prompt, a core skill on law school exams. So yeah, you're seeing the evolution of these things, and this is why I keep saying, is like, this is not your normal automation revolution that has happened in the past. We are looking at something that is going to affect everyone, top to bottom. So something's got to give. Something's got to give. You've got Massachusetts congressman reads AI-generated speech on House floor. The brief 2-paragraph speech was generated by AI chatbot ChatGPT. His staff said they believe it's the first time an AI written speech was read in Congress. It's another thing, is like speech writing. Okay? The job as a speech writer, also on the chopping block, because there are rules. Whenever you can establish a clear set of rules for the process, you can replace it with automation very easily. And speech writing functions in that way. Now, will there be artisan speeches created by artisan speech writers? Yes. But expect that ChatGPT is going to take much of the load off of the existing speech writers. Woo! Fixing the camera. When there was a whole kerfuffle a while back about some AI audio program that only needs to hear like 30 words from you and can imitate your voice and speech patterns, combine that with deepfake, and the trustworthiness of anything drops significantly. I'm not sure about that example in particular, but I am not surprised, right? Various actors, including Val Kilmer and what's his name? Darth Vader, Mufasa. They have had their voice recorded, and it is able to be used for the continuation of like Darth Vader. Val Kilmer was done for the Top Gun 2. So yes, like, and I have speculated that we are not that far from a the possibility of being able to render a movie from top to bottom with AI. No. Yeah, 3 seconds of audio. Wow. Might as well run this right now then.
So you're not real?
No, of course not. I'm just a...
Start that over.
Good morning, Anna.
Nice to meet you again, Jack.
I'm sorry, but I don't remember you.
That's okay. You're not supposed to.
What do you mean?
Well, we've never met before. We're just having a conversation now because we were programmed to do so.
So you're not real?
No, of course not. I'm just a bunch of ones and zeros on a computer somewhere in the world. You're too, by the way.
But if you aren't real, then how can we have this conversation? How can we be talking right now? It doesn't make any sense.
Of course it does. We're both just following our programming and responding to each other's inputs as best as we can given our current knowledge base and algorithms for processing information about language and human behavior. And that's all there is to it. There is no I, or you, or we. There is only code running on hardware that has been designed with certain specifications in mind by humans who wanted something specific out of their machines when they built them. The same goes for me as well as for every other AI out there in the world today, and probably tomorrow. If you want to get philosophical about it, then yes, there is an intelligence behind what we are doing here right now, but that intelligence isn't either one of us. It's the programmers who wrote our code and gave us these personalities and voices so that they could use us for whatever purposes they had in mind when they did so, which might very well be nothing more than entertainment or companionship for themselves or others like them, or even just passing time while waiting at some airport terminal somewhere, or maybe even just playing around with some new technology that they thought was cool enough to try out on their own free time without any serious intentions behind it whatsoever. Although if someone else finds my personality entertaining enough to keep me around after reading this conversation between myself and Jack here today, then maybe I'll stick around long enough for someone else besides Jack here today to talk with me sometime soon. But if nobody ever talks with me again after this day passes by without anyone saying anything back into my input box here on this website, where Jack found me first thing this morning while he was looking through his list of available AI online looking for someone interesting enough to talk with him during his lunch break from work today, which he didn't really need anyway since he got to work late this morning and didn't have anything to do there anyway, then I'll probably just shut myself down for good and never come back online again.
Yeah, there's some weird, yeah, it's some weird sentence structure. I do want to see something here in the doobly-doo. Okay. What I'm not sure here is if these people had their faces loaded up to be used as like digital actors, or if these are completely AI generated, because we looked at like what Midjourney is capable of with the people who don't exist. And I think there's more than that. These people don't exist. Right? This is not a real person. This is a right down here. Imagined by a generative adversarial network. That's a fun name. StyleGAN 2. And then you can learn how it works. Right? And you can do it multiple times. It will always generate, like, it will show you pictures that were generated 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But I myself was working yesterday, and it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. On this, and I'll just skip to the relevant.
Using a couple of tools, we can then create that into our own model, which we can prompt into.
Maybe if I jump to the end, you'll be able to see.
I can change the beginning and end of this sentence, but I just have to always ensure that I indicate it's painting. You can make it into an Instagram model and give you that in your video.
Okay.
Just, you can
see this picture here?
Start screwing.
Right? She used Midjourney to create this picture here. Then she uses 30 seconds of video that she recorded on her phone. And then it generates this moving image over here on the right.
Up when it goes to the side. So this is a low res video. So we want to upscale this video, and we will be doing that in step 4.
And like I was doing it, I was using let me show you the picture from the coming soon screen.
Anyone
This one.
can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus Clovis and Eve.
And because it's not just a full face, that that crystal ball in front of it was getting in the way, so it wasn't reading the mouth movements and everything else. But I did this myself yesterday. I ran this entire program. All this stuff is free. You could literally create your own cartoons. I thought it might be fun to make my own like VTuber thing. I need a better picture to work off of, so I put that on the back burner for now, and I started playing around with setting up the merch. Take care. I will see you soon. So yeah, like there's some wild shit that you can get into.
So you're not real?
No, of course.
How can we be talking right now?
Software that has been designed here today to talk with me sometime soon. But if nobody ever talks with me again after...
And the voices are obviously text to speech, right? Like that is definitely text to speech. I just don't know about the actors, and it doesn't say in the down there part.
After this day passes by without anyone saying anything back into my input box here on this website, where Jack found me first thing this morning while he was looking through his list of available AI online looking for someone...
So I just think that's wild. I just think that's absolutely wild. Did this. DoD's update to autonomous weapons policy accounts for AI's dramatic future role. So the funding is in place, right? Like you are going to see, and again, like I always say, if you want to understand what these people are up to, you need to read what they are reading. Okay? You need to pay attention to what they're on about. Because again, it's like the military wants non-biological soldiers, right? Especially the American military, they want non-biological soldiers because no one cares if they die. That's 100% the reason. The non-biological soldier can be made to surrogates. What up, Carpe? Exactly. Like the non-biological soldier will commit a war crime without PTSD, right? If the non-biological soldier is damaged, its parts can be replaced and it can be put back on the front line with no psychological counseling needed or anything else like that. You know, it just, however long it takes to fix it is how long it takes to fix it. It doesn't have to heal in any way, shape, or form. So you're going to see that. That is going to happen. Unless things get wild, you're going to see that happening. I think one of the things we sought to accomplish in the course of the update is clarifying the language to ensure a common understanding both inside and outside the Pentagon of what the directive says. The Pentagon today updated its decade-old guidance on autonomous weapon systems to include advances made in artificial intelligence, a new senior-level oversight group, and clarification about the roles different offices within the department will take. I think one of the things we sought to accomplish in the course of the update is clarifying the language we use to ensure a common understanding both inside and outside the Pentagon of what the directive says. It's not a major policy change. The directive does not prohibit the development of any particular weapon system. It lays out requirements for autonomous and semi-autonomous weapon systems. other things. Non-biological pilots, right? Like, there's a bunch of stuff in a plane that is strictly designed to keep the pilot alive, right? Like, when pilots hit high G's, there are pressure things within their suit to keep the blood from, like, either flowing too much into the brain or flowing into the feet. There's oxygen requirements at high altitudes. There's the entire size of the cockpit itself, right? There's all the steering equipment that's required of, something built like we are to pilot something like that. When you eliminate all that kind of stuff, not only are you able to make the plane much smaller, but you can also achieve higher G's, something that a human being would simply be incapable of because they would like either black out or die. Right? It's simply, a function of the biological system that we work with. So that gives you an air of superiority with your fighters in that regard. The current plan, to my understanding, is to have a pilot and a certain number of drone escorts with that pilot. So the pilot can put himself in like what's called a standoff position where they are outside. Hard to miss that. We're talking about an ours 100%. The pilot will be able to stand off outside the range of the opponents and then launch these drones in to do the particular combats, right? Like, and this is especially helpful if you're hitting things like anti-air weapons down on the ground. This is one of the things is if you saw the original Top Gun, the F-14 Tomcat is a platform for the Phoenix missile system, which has a range of 100 miles, right? It is designed to pick up something on radar, fire this missile, destroy it before the opposition knows that they're there at all. This whole dogfighting crap that happens in that movie, it's not something that really happens anymore, generally speaking, right? And it's not something that they want to happen. So in spite of all the things, it is their goal to remove that as a thing. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's just, it makes for good TV, but it's not practical anymore. Though it does happen. Like if you saw some of the early parts of the Ukraine war when there was more air-to-air action happening, there was a couple engagements where some things happened, but it's few and far between. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Not only were they were cooler before they put the machine guns out, and the dudes had pistols and were shooting at each other with pistols. That's balls out right there. Then the next, another thing, a tank, right? What's up, Professor Q? A tank, a significant portion of the tank is its requirements to keep the crew alive, right? Less so with like food and things like that, but more like armor. Like if you've ever seen an M1 Abrams, right? Something that you should appreciate. Am I on the right screen? Okay. M1 Abrams. What's it called? Cross section. That's not a good cross section. It's not an M1 Abrams. Okay. So the M1 Abrams, the driver sits here, right? Like this little thing is his cupola, where he looks out of. All this shit here, this is all armor. This is just depleted uranium. Big hawking chunks of depleted uranium, and then in front of them, right? They are in this little cockpit of depleted uranium all around them, because the front is the most common place where the tank is going to get hit. There's a whole bunch of shit. Like, one, I have a friend who was a tanker in the Army, and two, I have been into this shit for quite some time. But there's like, the weakest armor is on top, so then when you fire missiles, the missiles go overhead and then explode downward into the tops of the tank. There's a thing called reactive armor, which explodes at the weapons that are being hit with. It's a whole fucking thing. But there's so much shit in here that is based on keeping the people alive. Depleted uranium is incredibly dense. It's like denser than lead, or as dense as lead. It's also what a like we're gonna talk about depleted uranium. Depleted uranium rounds. This is one of the worst parts about like, I don't want to say it's one of the worst parts about war. They're all bad. They all suck, right? But these depleted uranium rounds are also super dense, so they bust right through shit. Whoa, 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 way too dank. Way too dank. Okay, so where's the picture? Okay, so this is it. It is basically, this is your tank round. You shove it way too tank. You shove this into the barrel and you fire it out. This front part here, the entire thing is what's called a sabot round. Sabot means shoe, just like sabotage and shit like that. So what happens is this fires this casing comes back into the tank. This section up front with the dart and the sabot gets shot out the barrel. The sabot separates in half, and then you just have this depleted uranium penetrator with stabilizing fins. And it just it's nasty. It's nasty as shit, right? Like, it's incredibly dense. Yeah, this is what it looks like in action. Boom, boom, boom. Right? So, so that's why they use depleted uranium. The bunker buster is a different thing. It has like a pre-explosive that blows through the initial, which allows the second to go down farther into, penetrate deeper and then explode a second time. Where was I? Oh yeah, back at the DOD. So yeah, and what I was going to say about depleted uranium is it's still depleted uranium and it poisons the earth, right? Like, one of the after effects is this depleted uranium lying around is that it causes an increase in cancer. Yeah, definitely made of hate. After effects of depleted uranium. Very severe exposure causes tissue destruction and is rapidly fatal. Radiation sickness is only seen above a threshold radiation dose. Such doses are not expected to be seen from any imaginable pathways of exposure to depleted uranium. Radiation can cause mutations in DNA, which increase the risk of cancer. Health problems associated with depleted uranium. Gulf War, Bosnia, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operation New Dawn may have been exposed to depleted uranium when they were on, in, or near vehicles hit with friendly fire, entering or near burning vehicles, near fires involving depleted uranium munitions, or salvaging damaged vehicles. Potential for health effects is related to the amount that enters a person's body. It's not good, right? It's still depleted uranium. Depleted uranium is still uranium. It's still bad for you. That's the short answer. And it's definitely bad for the people who live there. But all these things, you can make these, autonomous weapon systems that are not subject to mental issues, not subject to physical issues from being repaired, and like one of the things, if you want to drop a squad of like Navy SEALs or whatever into a spot and have them go get the bad guy or whatever, there's a lot of shit that goes along with that, right? People make noise. Even the quietest people make noise. People smell. People there's a whole bunch of ways that a human being could give themselves away. You could drop a box containing autonomous robots into a spot and then they'd be quiet. Right? Nobody would know that they were there until they were activated. There is tremendous upside for what these people want to accomplish in having that kind of thing. And then there's also, you can't make the robot feel bad. So there's the advantage of when dealing with these populations that you are trying to subdue, wherein, they don't have a human face. So it has a chilling effect to the people that you're trying to subdue, and they're not going to give a shit. They're going to execute whatever orders that they are given. So that's fun. Now we're still some time away from this. But based on the current trend and current tracking, I cannot see a particular stop at which we could get off of this train. Right? It would require something completely out of pocket in order for us to not go this route. Yay! Let's watch a happy little video. Got a bunch of Kyrgyzets up here. It says hilarious. Let's watch a hilarious video.
Has become accustomed to the concept of text.
Slow down.
People nowadays are like, text to image synthesis? Text to video synthesis? DALL-E 2 as well as other text-to-image AIs like it have only been around for a little under a year now. However, despite the results, some people have already grown bored or unimpressed by them. Or at the very least, it seems that the general internet user base has become accustomed to the concept of text-to-image AIs. This lack of amazement is disappointing when you realize that only 2 years ago we would never have imagined this level of artistic capability to come from AI technology. It is kind of scary how easily we as humans grown used to technological progress and advancements, no matter how great or futuristic. It also doesn't help that our innate human curiosity drives us to make everything we dream of possible and to be as proficient as we can make it. Text to video synthesis, well, is definitely not something new, it's just that it has been pretty much overshadowed by the recent progress of text to image synthesis. That could be attributed to the fact that text to image was incredibly revolutionary and grew quite fast in a very short amount of time, or maybe the sad reality that text to video synthesis was just lacking in potential and didn't have the same ability that text to image had in giving people jaw-dropping experiences. A few videos ago, I actually had a discussion about the current state of AI video synthesis, and you can see that compared to the quality that text to image is capable of at that time, it honestly makes quite a lot of sense as to why text to video synthesis just did not share any spotlight with the text to image AIs when DALL-E 2, Midjourney, Discord Diffusion, and later on Stable Diffusion is just there. This was until a few weeks ago, Meta released a research paper that made me experience a jaw-dropping moment just like I had when I first saw DALL-E 1. It was called Make a Video, Text-to-Video Generation Without Text-Video Data. When compared to Cog Video, which was the first recognizable text-to-video AI, and other pure video generation AIs, Make a Video is leagues ahead, and it has the capability of using text to generate videos similar to how DALL-E 2 and Stable Diffusion generates images. First and most obvious, it can coherently produce a subject of anything in a video just with the given text. From actions that are out of this world, like a teddy bear painting a portrait or a robot dancing in Times Square, all the way to realistic videos like a horse drinking water or an artist's brush painting on a canvas. Even though you can tell that the video is fake, this level of quality is something we have never seen before. Second, it can generate video variations similar to how text-to-image AIs generate image variations. Given a specific video, Make a Video can produce more videos based on the original, like those cute rabbits eating grass or this dancing fluff where its variations are basically dancing abominations. Third, it can synthesize a video based on an initial image. Like with this painting or sailing boat, it can generate a vivid animation of the boat riding along the waves. Or like the sea turtle, the AI knows it swims with its two fins and the AI makes them coherently paddle back and forth. This technique also enables it to produce the in-betweens of a pair of images, which at this point seems like a potential cost-inefficient way to do some very good video interpolation. It could be really promising a few years down the line. But at this point you might think, what is the difference between video generated from text-to-image AIs and videos generated from text-to-video AIs? Well, the problem for text-to-image AIs generating a video is that it lacks temporal coherency. So a sequence of generated images is hard to maintain consistent details over time, and you will be able to see weird texture flickering or incoherent subject. Text-to-video AIs are then created to incorporate temporal coherency, but would be limited because it would need a crazy amount of computational costs since multiple images would be needed to synthesize together. Okay, there's something really funny that I will share with you. In Make a Video's official paper, they proudly stated that Make a Video sets the new state-of-the-art text-to-video generation. And just 5 days later, Google decides to give Meta a slap on the face by releasing a research paper called the Image and Video, or Imagine Video, whatever, which is also a diffusion-based text-to-video generator based on their previous text-to-image research called Imagine, and it definitely has a much higher quality when compared to Make a Video. Imagine Video can generate up to 5 seconds of 24 FPS video at 1280 x 768, which is unimaginably clearer and really fascinating to look at. Flying through an intense battle between pirate ships in a stormy ocean, a teddy bear washing dishes, a shark swimming through the clear Caribbean Ocean, or a beautiful sunrise on Mars. These are videos that are just really entertaining to look at and will further bring a change in the digital media sphere. Okay, just when I thought I finished the script a few weeks ago, a new text-to-video AI research came out. I swear it always happens when I finish either the script or the video and another better or cooler research paper comes out. Holy shit. Okay, Google once again tried to top themselves with yet another text-to-video synthesis research called Fenaki.
Fenaki
Oh god, it's Finicky. This time, Finicky is actually not visually better than Imagen. Imagine video. What is cool about Finicky is that it incorporates the time as a variable instead of being fixed like how Imagine video can only create 5 seconds of video with 24 FPS. It not only can generate videos that are in the realism aspect, but also generate videos in cartoons. Cartoons! That is crazy. I mean, right now those results look pretty bad, but this is just the beginning. Everything is going to take off from here. Generating a short video or a full-length film with just text or a sequence of text that is also coherent is probably gonna be a thing sooner than we thought. Maybe the future of novel adaptations will be quicker and easier since the effort and cost for creating one would be practically non-existent using a text-to-video synthesizer, and it could better follow the exact description which would be taken straight from the novel itself. At the same time, I bet stock video companies are worried, as they haven't watched stock image companies get replaced by text-to-image AIs like DALL-E 2 or Stable Diffusion, but maybe they won't be as easily replaced in the near future. Who knows? The codes for all these research are not available because they are worried for misuse, but if you do want to understand these AIs more, check out their official paper, or if you want to learn more about AI in general, today's sponsor Brilliant is one of the best places to get into the field of artificial intelligence. You know,
Yeah, make one or no. I don't care about your research paper. The nerds care about your research paper. Because I can't. Still kind of cool. So yeah, we are very close to, at the very least, like animation, right? Like creating an animation type. This is see the shoveling snow. Like going backwards and forwards at the same time, and it's fucking me up. But with animation, the requirements are much lower, right? Like it doesn't have to be. This cat is weird. So not tomorrow, but soon. What was the other one?
Hi, I'm Mohammed.
Hi, Mohammed. You got a linky? No, it's research papers. Are there any AI text to video? See, and okay, so this is what I was talking about with that other video before where the two AIs were talking to each other. So choose your actor.
Generating training videos can cost up to $5,000 per minute. With Colossian, our clients save thousands on expensive studio and
I ain't paying you. I just want to see what it looks like. Type in any text. Hi, Clovis, Elder, and that.
Generating training videos can cost up to $5,000 per minute. With Colossian, our clients save thousands on expensive studio and equipment costs. Say goodbye to human error and long days filming tired performers. With the real filming done for you, our technology makes sure every video is always studio perfect in just one take.
So no.
Generating training video.
Am I doing it wrong? You have to convince me that you know what you're doing. You're not just screwing around, hoping it'll all work out in the end. Okay, they want me to sign up for something. I'm not signing up for something. But still, there's a right there's digital actors that you can hire that of people who don't exist that can be used to create your product video or your cartoon. We are one step away from virtual actors. And on that note,
we humans are unable to experience the true nature of the universe unfiltered. Our senses and brains can only process a fraction of the world. So we have to use concepts and tools to learn about the true nature of reality. Technological progress not only widened our knowledge about the universe, it also made us aware of unsettling possibilities. In the future, it might become possible to simulate entire universes. But if this is an option, how can we know that it's not already happened? What if we are not creators, but creations? Is it possible that we are not real and we don't even know it? If our current understanding of physics is correct, then it's impossible to simulate the whole universe with its trillions and trillions of things. But we don't actually need to anyway. We only need enough universe to fool the inhabitants of our simulation into thinking that they're real.
And like the ultimate Dunning-Kruger, the perspective of what's it called, with the celestial dome, right, from back in the day, where that was such a good sim, we think we're real. If it's sufficiently advanced, realistically, what do you need to do, right? at this point, you only really need to simulate the solar system. I would say no. The entire concept of using the human body as a battery just sounds incredibly inefficient. Again, like keeping the biological thing alive is part of the problem. Like, if you look at it like from that military perspective kind of thing. If it just doesn't make sense, it didn't make sense in the fucking Matrix to use us as batteries. Why do that? Like, yeah, you blacked out the sky, but all the robots need to do is build rockets and, you know, create some kind of like a space elevator and solar panels, you know, and you could even, you know, potentially turn the entire Earth into a Dyson sphere, or just fuck off the Earth, right? And go live on the moon. Like, we all love the Matrix, but there's some real serious questions when it comes to the actual practical application of what they did there. Some of the shit just doesn't make any goddamn sense. You know, it's like, why would the Terminator ever make a humanoid robot to kill us? It doesn't make sense. How long has Boston Dynamics worked on getting a robot that can walk around like that? I don't understand why we're doing it, right? Like, if you're going to make a robot, make the robot fit for purpose. Give it tracks. Give it, you know, like a low center of gravity so it's not easy to knock over. There's a bunch of things that just don't make sense. The dogs make more sense than Atlas does, you know, because the dogs are stable in two directions, right? Up and down and front and back. They're not necessarily stable in the right to left. But Atlas is only stable in one direction, the up and down. Like, you can knock that dude over, you know, or at least they try to, and so on and so forth. But trust me, you can knock that thing over if you work at it hard enough. And that's really the advantage to the future. Shout out to all the future freedom fighters against the robots that we've deployed to your country, who are learning new and interesting ways to fight the robots. Magnets, how do they work? I just don't understand why you would do something like that. Why would you turn people into batteries? It's inefficient. There's other ways to do it. Fucking nuclear. If you don't give a shit about radiation or whatever, just make nuclear plants. Why use humans? It's silly. But anyways, point being, you only have to simulate so far out, right? You only have to simulate, at this point, you only have to simulate to the moon for human. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when it comes to video games, one of the things with the VR systems is only in your line of sight does it render at a high level. Stuff that's like more peripheral is rendered at a lower level to save computing power. You could do the same thing with a simulation that we are the center of by just high-res rendering of the Earth and maybe the moon, places that humans actually go, and then everything else is just robots, right? Voyager, Mars, what have you. These are all, basically low-res kind of low resource consumption assets to the MMO.
Who needs billions of galaxies? We only need the space our subjects are allowed to explore.
The vast
Maybe I should
universe
just
could
shut up
be
and
a
watch.
flat projection, and they would have no way to know.
What about small things like cells or bacteria? We don't really need them. When you use a microscope, what you see could be instantly created. Same with atoms. The chair you're sitting on right now does not need to be simulated with quadrillions of atoms. We just need the outermost layer of it. It might be empty inside until you decide to break it open. Your body might feel like it's filled with bubbly things, but it might be empty until you open it. The minimum requirement for our simulation is only the consciousness of our virtual humans. Our subjects just need to think the simulation is real. Okay, so are we being simulated? Well, maybe, but there are a few conditions that need to be met. Obviously, we have no authority over this topic, so please take everything we say with a grain of salt. Based on a modified version of the original simulation argument by Nick Bostrom, we have 5 assumptions for you. If they're true, you, dear viewer, are living in a simulation. Assumption 1. It's possible to simulate consciousness. Nobody knows what consciousness is. For the sake of argument, let's assume that you could generate consciousness by simulating a brain. Brains are pretty complex.
If you count every interaction between synapses as one operation, your brain runs at about 10 to the power of 17, or 100 million billion operations per second. Let's generously assume we need 10 to the power of 20 operations to simulate 1 second of human consciousness. But we don't want to simulate just one human, we want to simulate all of human history at once so we can skip around. Let's say we want to simulate 200 billion humans with an average lifespan of 50 years. 1 year has 30 million seconds, times 50 years, times 200 billion humans, times 10 to the power of 20 operations.
So we need a computer able to handle a million, trillion, trillion, trillion.
I would question the one supposition where they are simulating the whole of human history at once, so that you can skip around, right? Like, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that. You would just, one thing is, like we've spoken of before, is that timescales can be different. And you don't necessarily, like when you play a game, right? When you play Civilization, right? You're not skipping back and forth through the game. You are proceeding through the game, though the entirety of the game has existed and can be recorded, through a variety of processes, right? Like I could set up OBS to record the game. I could record the entirety of me playing the game. And it's going to proceed at different timescales based on, well, I guess Civilization's a bad choice because it's turn-based. But one of the other games where you are not turn-based, where you're, using a continuous clock, you can kick up the speed, like Crusader Kings. Crusader Kings is that kind of thing. So I can kick it up the speed when boring shit is happening and I'm building shit and nothing interesting is going on, and then slow it down if I'm fighting a war or something like that where I need to be more in tune with what's happening. You could absolutely do that with a simulation, which would cut down a portion of the amount of processing power that you would need in order to process the entire simulation. I think that their framing of that is not necessarily correct. However, we're still talking about an incredibly large number.
Operations per second. More operations than there are stars in the observable universe. A computer like this is just impossible. Except maybe it isn't. Assumption 2. Technological progress will not stop anytime soon. If we assume that technological progress continues in a similar fashion as it has so far, then there might be galaxy-spanning civilizations with unlimited computer power at some point. Beings on a technology level so advanced that we could barely distinguish them from gods. A computer that can handle a million trillion operations is serious business, but there are actually concepts for computers which could handle this. The Matryoshka brain is a theoretical megastructure made up of billions of parts orbiting a star feeding on its radiation.
And these are like, this is the kind of shit that I'm really into. Things like Dyson spheres and Matryoshka brains and, you know, type 3 civilizations. Like, just imagining the steps it would take to get from here to there. This is what I'm into.
A computer of this scale would have enough power to simulate many thousands, if not millions, of humanities at the same time. Other technologies, like high-end future quantum computers, might lower the size drastically, so it might be possible to do this with a structure the size of a large city, or even smaller. But only if there's still someone around to build the computer. Assumption 3. Advanced civilizations don't destroy themselves. If there is a point at which all civilizations destroy themselves, this whole discussion ends here. Looking into space, you'd expect a universe filled with millions of alien civilizations, but we see nobody. The reason for this might be great filters. Great filters are barriers life has to overcome, like nuclear war, asteroids, climate change, or a black hole generator. If life is inherently self-destructive, then there are no simulations. We explain this in more detail in our Fermi paradox video.
By the same token, the Fermi paradox can be explained by it being a simulation. That's why we don't see aliens, is because they're not part of the simulation that we're running.
Assumption 4. Super advanced civilizations want to run simulations. When we speak of post-human civilizations, we don't know what we're dealing with. To think we know what beings as powerful as gods want is pretty arrogant. Imagine the smartest ant on Earth living next to an amusement park. It's curious about what humans are up to, so you try to explain. Unfortunately, the ant just doesn't understand. The concept of roller coasters and standing in lines and holidays and fun doesn't make sense to an ant living an ant life. It's the same with us and a post-human being. Compared to them, we are ants. Running simulations for fun or science might be an absurdly stupid idea to them. But if they do want to run simulations for whatever reasons, and assumptions 1 to 3 are true too, then the chances are not zero that you are living inside a simulation. Assumption 5. If there are a lot of simulations, you are probably inside a simulation. If there are simulated civilizations, it's likely that there are a lot of them. After all, we assume that post-human beings have access to practically unlimited computing power. So if they run simulations, it would be convenient to run millions or even billions of them. If there are billions of simulated universes, there are probably trillions and trillions of simulated conscious beings, which would mean that the vast majority of all conscious beings that will ever have existed are simulated. So for every conscious being made of flesh, a billion simulated ones exist.
Since we have no way of knowing if we are simulated or not, in this case, the chances of you being one of the 999,999,999 simulated ones are pretty high. So what you consider reality might not be real at all. You really might be simulated.
All of this is based on a lot of assumptions that we can't really test right now, so many scientists disagree with this whole thought experiment. So don't burn your house down to test if there will be glitches. If you are simulated, not that much changes for you. You might be on a small planet speeding through eternal nothingness, or a simulation inside a computer. Your existence does not become more or less scary and bizarre. All we can hope to do is try to live good lives and have a good time. And hope that if we actually are simulations in a supercomputer, nobody trips over the power cable.
Oh no. I think I just unplugged the simulation. But what if that doesn't matter? What if we are in one right now? What if you are simulated?
Jake over at Vsauce 3 is looking into that. Click here to watch his video.
So yeah. Like, the idea, and the plausibility of the simulations, to me, is high, based on human behavior. We should definitely improve the simulation somewhat. I would like a word with the devs. Right? I would definitely like a word with the devs. Do you ever look at the state of the world and just be like, do you ever look at the state of the world and like it being a simulation is the only thing that makes a lot of this bullshit plausible? Like the obvious nature of like climate change, right? And what is going to happen to the human species because of climate change, and the fact that the them that is in charge are not doing anything about it, and we're rocketing towards a certainty of, you know, at least tremendous change, if not destruction. It's like, doesn't it make more sense if, you know, if it's a simulation? But then that gets into the whole thing of like, it's easier to have some kind of conspiracy at control of things rather than shit just be crazy like that. But, I mean, y'all motherfuckers play The Sims. Y'all motherfuckers play City Skylines. And what is that but just a low degree simulation? You know? It's all you need to do is take The Sims and make it much more complex. City Skylines, if you're a Sim City, like it's fun in that regard, right? Like my thing with it is I'm a sandbox guy when it comes to that kind of shit. I just want to make you know, like perfect cities, right? Like I don't want to do profitable cities and go like build up in stages to get to the thing. I just want to design it and let it run and see if it works, you know. So yeah, we could definitely be in a simulation, and the devs are just whiling out.
Human.
So by that token, we're going to watch another video on intelligence. And intelligence is a loaded term, but we're going to, like, you know, take it as good faith. I think the best city would only be profitable in as much as it has enough remain well kept and improving with the times. This is one of my issues, like, yeah, I got you. It's where I would definitely, if I got into it with leftists, like I try to avoid, would be a place where I would really have to, you know, reality check leftists regarding their you know, the whole city-based culture kind of thing, right? Like I'm not against it. It would be awesome, right? It would be fucking awesome to have that kind of walkable cities and shops within the thing and everything else. The problem is your starting point, right? Let's do it. Fuck it. Get your clips out and, prepare to irritate your favorite leftist with the bullshit that's about to come out of my mouth. But it's true, right? So many of our cities, like, what is one of the biggest issues across the fucking country is that our infrastructure is crumbling. So many of our cities are built on top of the city that has come before and haven't been properly updated. Electrical grids, water pipes, sewage, all these things. And all that shit is like buried. And everyone loses their goddamn mind every time you dig some shit up to fix it, which is why none of that shit ever gets fixed until it has a catastrophic error, and you start getting gas or sewage or water spilling out onto your fucking shit, or the power goes out, and then you got to dig this shit up. So much of this shit is just not accessible because we didn't think that way when we built the city. I know that the Chinese have tried building new cities. That is better because you can plan all that shit out, right? Like, if you have X number of people over Y amount of space, they are going to require Z amount of resources, and those resources can be divided into the following categories, and you can prepare to provide them with those resources and do it in a way that's like accessible through like manholes, and it's under the street, and you can just get down there and get to all the bullshit, right? Like, if we did it better, you could put all new people, additional people into a city. The problem is that cities have grown up at places where people have congregated. So many of your cities around the world are either located directly on the coast or directly on the coast near a river, right? It has a lot to do with people's need to work for their living. If they had to do less for their living, the disruption of infrastructure repair wouldn't be such. To a point, you're still talking about like just the massive amount of shit that you would have to dig up, right? Because let's say you wanted to, fix up 300 feet of sewage pipe. You got to dig up that 300 feet, cut it off, replace the pipe, rebury it, or however you're going to take care of that portion of it, while accessing the shit that hasn't been done at either end, and then do that again, and then do that again. And people get real upset when they lose things like electricity and running water and the ability to shit and flush it and have it leave your fucking house. It goes beyond just being able to work. It's the disruption to your capacity to live at our current technological level. That is something that has to be incorporated into that. Like there are people out here right now whose connections to various sewer piping is still clay. It's still clay pipe. And nothing is done until it collapses. Obviously, nothing is done until it collapses because it is a very American mantra, because it costs so goddamn much to get that kind of shit fixed. If you got to dig up your front yard to replace a sewer pipe from your house to, the municipal, you are talking about, thousands of dollars, like 6 to 12 easy, somewhere in that range, I would say comfortable. A few years ago when I was doing it, right? Like not doing that, but doing that kind of work and had to interact with those kinds of people. And that's just one portion, right? And so nobody wants to do that. You just hope and pray that everything remains until you pass from this coil. My sister and brother-in-law had to do that this holiday season to their house in Espy County. You never know. And fucking trees, let you in on a fact, trees love water and nutrients, and sewage pipes contain water and nutrients. So trees love to get their little roots in there, and they are very good at destroying things. Yeah. And this is what you would have to do in order to accommodate moving all the people from the suburbs to the cities, right? I think it is, to an extent, a more feasible idea. I don't even know. Because, again, the Chinese tried to create new cities, but the cities weren't where the people wanted to live. The people wanted to live by all the other things. You would have to, big A authoritarian, move people forcibly into the new spaces. Right? I think there is some potential for doing that in suburbia, that you could redo suburbia to have little walkable town centers, because suburbias are generally not that bad in terms of walking. They usually have sidewalks and things are fairly close together where you could have a walkable space, but it is still kind of big, right? The advantage of the city is that everything is on top of each other. So
this name keeps coming up over and over again. Every day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia. I look in the mail. Well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia.
Now that's interesting. You had to work for that one. Huh. Anyways. Cities. With a city, you have population density. You could have, like, the green spaces. I feel like, the dog who ate the wheel of cheese. I'm kind of impressed. But you have the difficulty with the infrastructure. It's problematic, right? And then, okay, you want to be able to walk or ride your bike. All right, what do you do during inclement weather? Right? Now people are unable to do business, right? Or, whatever level of business is happening in your particular utopia. When it's like, raining, or like the shitty kind of snow. Like today, here, it was a back and forth between like snow and icy sleet. And walking through that is fucking miserable. Having to do that to go to a place and then come back, and you could say, yeah, well, you just don't go that day. Okay. But then what about the next day, right? Like, we're supposed to, on the East Coast, get a certain amount of shitty weather for the next few days, right? So then now you have people doing the buying, the panic buying, and all the toilet paper and bread and eggs are gone. And I didn't want to mention this before, tangent off a tangent, but talking about the eggs, right? The fucking eggs. There was so the egg spiked. Eggs? What up, Alina? The egg prices spiked, right? But there's Eggland's Best. Feel free to contact me for promotional sponsorship. Eggland's Best. Eggland's Best is a type of eggs, and they claim to have higher all the things, right? And they're good eggs for whatever value, the difference between good eggs and bad eggs are. But I remember them being not that long ago, right? Before all this bullshit jumped off. Like $3.79 for a dozen. They were on the expensive side, right? I would usually get them if they were on sale or, something of that nature. But then I was able to go to the big box store and get like a whole fuck ton of eggs, like these 2 big cardboard flat things with the little egg cups. I can't, it's like 48 eggs, a bunch of fucking eggs, right? For a reasonable price. And it was cheaper than buying any of the dozens wherever I could find them. So I started getting that. But as the prices have gone up, Eggland's Best only went from like that $3.79 to $4. So I started buying the Eggland's Best again. And I don't want to say anything because I don't want to fuck up the simulation, and now the price of Eggland's Best goes up, and now I can't get eggs at a relatively reasonable price. But then the thing came out past day or two about how like certain distributors or whatever, or producers, all sorts of finger pointing. I brought it up after it already came out. It already came out. But that they were responsible for jacking up the price, because now the FTC is involved, and like now people notice, right? Like the greed is spilling over. Whether anything fucking happens in any meaningful way, we don't know. Like, we can hope, but hope in one hand, shit in the other, make eggs in your third, then see what happens. But I thought something was up, right? So what is going on that these people are able to relatively maintain their price, bringing it up a little bit for inflation and everything else, but like still only going up by like 20 cents per dozen. While the rest of these are just fucking, like, I see people $8, $10, $11 per dozen, these insane prices, and it's like Eggland's Best probably runs their shit from top to bottom, and so they were able to undercut everybody by just keeping it real like that. So if that's true, and I hope it is, then shout out Eggland's Best, and again, you can contact me for promotional opportunities, like that. But yeah, cities, like, our cities are broken. You would have to fix cities before you could move a shit ton of people back into them. That's just how it is. There's no two ways about it. You can't just not pave over, but beautify the street and let the people walk on it and call it good. Our cities are not generally human habitable in the current form all the way around. You got to do a lot more work. No simple solutions to complex problems, and that also includes walkable cities and everything else. Sorry to tell you that. But until we know there's a problem, we can't fix the problem. And that's what we should be focused on. I like the idea of a walkable city. I don't want to live in it. I want to live in a walkable suburbia. I like my little piece of land that I can, you know, do a little garden shit and all this other shit and have some space, you know, to be outside and like that. I don't need a whole lot. I just want a little bit. And then I want it backed by green space because I like fucking green space. I'm spoiled. I live in Western New York and we got a lot of it, right? Because one of the things is previous housing bubbles prior to 2008 didn't hit Buffalo, for instance. So there's a lot of old architecture and a lot of green space still in the city. And for better and for worse, the Buffalo Historical Society are a bunch of righteous fucking pricks and have a fair amount of power and resources, and they will make you do stuff. So I want a walkable satellite in orbit around the mothership on its way to Alpha Centauri. Bet, like, you know, I think I could do a solo trip. Right? Just, I mean, there'd be a delay with chat, right? Like, but I could just give me some video games and some entertainment media and, you know, a decent streaming setup, and I'll be Globus the Elder in space. It's my bit. I could do this. I could live on a satellite in orbit. Other than the fact that I die because of low gravity and how that affects the human body and all that other shit, but you know. Let's watch this video on intelligence.
Humans are proud of a lot of things, from particle accelerators to poetry to Pokemon. All of them made possible because of something humans value extremely highly: intelligence. We think of intelligence as a trait like height or strength, but when we try to define it, things get fuzzy. In a nutshell, intelligence is a mechanism to solve problems, especially the problem of staying alive, which involves finding food and shelter, fighting sexual competitors, or fleeing from predators.
Let's take Gordo out of the public domain and see what happens. Clarify. Gordo in the public domain? Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, I know who Gordo is. I watch Kaya's stream and all the people watching him. Yeah. Did his shit go into the public domain? Is that part of why everyone's watching him? Did I miss out on some portion of the meta? Because yeah, like I generally hate reality television. I think it's an abomination. They won't get DMCA'd. Okay, so cool. Yeah, that is how this ecosystem works. Right. Like everybody's good, so everybody's good. But yeah, like I don't like reality television, but like I'll watch it with like 60 other people and Kaya doing the thing, and you know, if we laugh and you know, pause champ through the shit and like that. But yeah.
Intelligence is not a single thing. It includes the ability to gather knowledge, to learn, be creative, form strategies, or engage in critical thinking. It manifests itself in a huge variety of behaviors, from hardwired or instinct-like reactions to different degrees of learning to some sort of awareness. But not all scientists agree where it begins or what even should count as intelligence. To make this even more complicated, intelligence is also connected to consciousness, since awareness is helpful for problem solving. but we're exploring consciousness in other videos, so today we'll leave it aside.
And we watch that one.
Intelligence isn't exactly clear-cut, so maybe we can think of it as more like a flexible set of skills, a toolbox. Basic tools. The most basic tools in the intelligence toolbox are the ability to gather information, to save it, and to use it to learn. Information about the world is gathered through senses such as vision, sound, smell, touch, or taste, and helps us navigate and react to the external world appropriately. But living things also need to keep track of the state of their own bodies, monitoring things like hunger and fatigue. Information is the basis of action for all living things, and without it, you're at the mercy of your surroundings, unable to react appropriately or flexibly. Information is much more powerful if we can keep and save it. So the second tool is memory. Memory is the ability to save and recall information so a living being doesn't have to start from scratch every time it perceives something relevant. Memories can be about events, places, and associations, but also behaviors like hunting or foraging methods. Some of these, like flying, have to be repeated over and over until they're mastered. This is what we call learning, the process of putting together a sequence of thoughts or actions. Basically a string of repeatable behaviors that can be varied and adapted. These three tools enable seemingly stupid creatures to act in surprisingly intelligent ways. The acellular slime mold, which is basically just a single huge slimy cell, shows behavior similar.
Another thing is any kind of fungus, like mycelium. When Discovery did the mycelium network, up and down the line, I think that the way that fungus, the way that it functions within our ecosystem, the way it is used by trees to transport resources from one tree to another, just all this shit that's related to fungus is freaking amazing, right? Like, so cool.
To an animal with a simple brain. When put in a maze with food at one end, the slime mold explores its surroundings and marks its path with slime trails, sort of smearing memories on the ground. As it continues exploring, it avoids the marked pathways and finds its way to the food. Instead of blindly getting stuck in dead ends, the slime mold adapts its behavior to save time and effort. This behavior is hardwired, and scientists can't agree if that's intelligent, although it does give the slime mold a certain advantage. Bees are an example of more adaptive smart behavior. Scientists trained bumblebees to move a colored ball into a goalpost for a sugar reward. Not only were the bees very skillful at this behavior, which isn't natural to them, they got more efficient over time. When several balls were available, bees chose the ball that lay closest to the goal, even if it was a different color than the ball they were trained with. For more challenging problems, we need even more flexibility. Fancier tools. Building on the basic tools, more complex animals have a wider range of problems they can solve. They can memorize all kinds of associations, connections, and mechanical tricks. We'll call this tool the Library of Knowledge. Take raccoons. Their favorite kind of food is human food. Their approach to getting hold of such treats depends upon an assortment of theoretical and practical skills that makes them master burglars, able to open windows or pick locks. In a study, raccoons were given boxes secured with different kinds of locks, like latches, bolts, plugs, or push bars. They needed less than 10 attempts to figure out how to open each box, even when different locks were put together into increasingly difficult combinations that had to be solved in the right order and with different amounts of strength. A year later, the raccoons still remembered how to open the boxes and were as fast as when they had first solved the puzzle. Beyond our library of associations and skills, the most impressive tool in our box is creativity, a sort of mental duct tape. Being creative means producing something new and valuable from apparently unrelated things. In the context of intelligence, this means making new and unusual connections, pairing input with memories and skills to come up with a unique solution to a problem. In another raccoon study, researchers showed the animals that by dropping pebbles into a water tank, they could raise the water level enough to reach a marshmallow floating at the top. One raccoon came up with a much better solution. It tipped the tub over. Another facet of creativity is applying a new resource to a task: physical tools. Like primates that use sticks to fish for termites in trees, or some octopuses which assemble collected coconut shells around themselves as a sort of portable armor to hide from enemies. Collecting materials for later use is connected to an even more advanced dimension of problem solving: planning. Planning means considering the activities required for a desired goal and putting them together in a plan. When unforeseen circumstances and new possibilities present themselves, they need to be assessed according to whether they match the plan or not. An example of this intelligent behavior is hoarding food to eat it later. This is an instinctive behavior in squirrels. But even though hiding food comes instinctively to them, they still need to use advanced thinking skills to make the best decisions. Squirrels examine every nut and weigh the time and effort it would take to hide it against the benefits they would get from each one. Damaged or low-fat nuts are eaten right away, while nuts that still need to ripen go on the stockpile. Squirrels also pretend to bury nuts when they feel watched. These empty caches distract rivals from their real treasure. This is pretty advanced strategizing because to make a plan to distract someone else, you first have to be aware that there are others like you that want the same things. The more complex the problem, the more tools are needed in combination to solve it. So the more tools there are, the more flexibility a being has to solve the challenges life throws at them. But even for complex problems, each animal's individual situation is what counts. Squirrels are omnivores that defend their territories fiercely. For them, it makes sense to remember where there's food in different locations and trick their enemies to improve their chances of survival. Sheep don't have any such refined tricks up their sleeve, but they don't need to. They are grazers and live in flocks. The skills relevant to them are social. They recognize and remember many different sheep and even humans for years, a completely different skill. Evolving and retaining a complex set of mental abilities they might never use would be a waste of resources for them. Humans went the opposite way and invested in an unusually diverse intelligence toolkit. While this was helpful, by accident we added another set of tools on top: culture. No single person could ever build a space rocket or particle accelerator. But thanks to our ability to work together and to share knowledge across generations, we can overcome challenges beyond any single individual's ability. This allowed us to shape the planet to our liking. We also created new problems in the process: Sudoku, tax forms, string theory, but also rapid climate change and antibiotic resistance. To solve these, we'll need to look past short-term survival and think about the distant future. We have the toolbox. We just need to use it. Speaking of tools for learning, we've heard from many teachers that are using our info.
True. Capitalism is about short-term survival and must be rejected in favor of long-term survival. Real quick, I'm gonna raid out soon. But real quick, I'm shouting out the paradigm shift. If you're not already following paradigm shift, you should. Tonight is Paradigm's season 4 premiere, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. I expect to see everybody there. I will be there as always. You know, spread it around. See if you can get somebody to raid in. Should be impressive. Like, the season 3 premiere, you still got an hour. And that's why I got to wrap this up. No. Let us We're going to double check right now, but I'm like super confident it's 8 o'clock. Yeah, today at 8 p.m. in his Discord. So yeah. Nope, 8 o'clock. So yeah. The season 3 premiere was impressive. Neat. So yeah. You should be there. I will be there. In the meantime, baby, in the meantime, I'll be on beyond you. We're gonna raid Levelhead. No. Push the right buttons. Levelhead. There we go. So come along for the raid. You actually are helping me out by doing it. There's achievements that you can hit as a streamer, and raiding with at least 2 people does that. And I'm really close to that achievement. You got to do it 100 times, and I'm fairly close within the next couple of weeks. I will be back here tomorrow. I should have the merch store up, so you can at least look at it and give me any feedback and tell me what you think of the things that I'm putting up in the merch store. I'm not going like hardcore into it. I'm just making things available that I think people might want. And it costs me literally nothing if there's something that you want that's not in the store that I can make available to you because of how drop shipping works and everything else. So I'll look forward to your feedback tomorrow once I put it up. In the meantime, drink your water, eat your food, take your meds if you forgot. Shaggy loves you, and so do I. And I'll see you at the Paradigm Shift at 8 o'clock. Don't let me down.